approve a water contract with Municipal Inspection Corporation. 9, authorization to enter into an administrative services agreement with Empower Retirement LLC. 10, approve amendment of resolution 112344 with Salt Electric. 11, approve amendment of resolution 012435 with Salt Electric. 12, approve agreement with Adnan US Healthcare. 13, authorize professional service agreement with Mott McDonald Group doing business as Mott McDonald. 14, approve amendment of resolution 022309 with Business and Governmental Insurance Agency. 15, authorize purchase by division of Parks and Chase Street from Store Tractor Company. 16, approve a water contract with Trap Rock Industries and Stavola Asphalt Company. 17, authorize professional service agreement with Innocent Municipal Systems doing business as First Bite Corporation. 18, authorize professional service agreement with Samuel Klein and Company. 19, authorize professional service agreement with McManuel, Scotland and Bowman. 12, approve a water contract with Morton Salt, Inc. 21, authorize professional service agreement with Phoenix Advisors LLC. 22, approve amendment of resolution 012351 with Prime Point LLC. 23, authorize extension of contract with Wellness Coaches USA. 24, approve a water contract with Edmonds GovTech Inc. 25, approve a water contract with Edmonds GovTech Inc. 26, approve amendment of resolution 042332 with Blue Environmental Services with Bay Hill Environmental. 27, approve amendment of resolution 092316 with BMW Construction Company of New Jersey. 28, approve authorization to rebid requested by Director of Planning Committee and Economic Development. 29, authorize tax collection to transfer overpayments on several utilities account. 30, authorize refund to Bill Braxton in the amount of $357.82. 31, authorize tax collector to cancel certificate number 230012. 32, authorize tax collector to cancel 2023 taxes in the amount of $4,546.88. 33, award professional service agreement to Bignell Planning Consultants. 34, approve emergency temporary appropriations for 2024. 35, authorize professional service agreement with Oakland Lumber Rental and Footpaths. 36, authorize professional service agreement with Defense Chester Pavement PC. 37, authorize professional service agreement with PRB Evaluation and Consultant Services. 38, authorize professional service agreement with DRT Technologies LLC. 39, authorize professional service agreement with Civil Solutions. 40, approve a work contract with Nearmap US Inc. 41, authorize professional service agreement with Professional Property Appraisers Inc. 42, authorize professional service agreement with Spatial Data Logic. 43, approve a work contract with Environsys Research Institute. 44, approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance requested by Hutch and Son LLC. 45, approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance and road closure requested by Support Crane and Rigging LLC. 46, award of professional service agreement to McManuel, Scotland and Bowman. 47, approve renewal of people license with special ruling for 2023-24. 48, approve award of contract with French and Ferrero Associates. 49, award professional service agreement to Delaware Barrington Engineering Inc. 50, approve amendment of resolution 022350 with CP Engineers. 51, authorization for extension of agreement between the City of New Brunswick City Citizens Research Center and Parker Foundation. 52, approve resolution to authorize the city to use community development block grant funds to the Somerset County Cooperative Pricing System with National Highway Products. 53, approve amendment of program year 2019 and 2023 annual action plans. 54, approve resolution to award one micro enterprise grant. 55, authorize award of professional service agreement with 56, approve award of contract with Maximum Quality Foods. 57, authorize professional service agreement with French and Ferrero Associates. 58, approves professional service agreement with Powers DNS Inc. 59, approve a payment for emergency procurement for sewage backup with Publish doing business as public sewer service. 60, approve renewal of contract with National Vision Administrators. 61, approve rejection of bids for citywide municipal telecommunications system. 62, authorize professional service agreement with W. Johnson Physicians Enterprise. And 63, resolution appointing council member to fill an expired term of Kevin Keith. Thank you. At this time, the meeting is called to order.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Here.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Here.
Council President Escobar.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Meeting Act has been complied with and satisfied that the annual notice which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings of the Municipal Council of the City of New Brunswick has been filed with the City Clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in City Hall, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This past Monday, we celebrated Martin Luther King Day, and I would like to take just a few seconds to just reflect and honor his contributions to the civil rights movement and his efforts to promote equality and social justice. Thank you.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda. Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro
Yes.
Ludwig. Council President Escobar.
Yes. Madam Clerk, has the correspondence been directed to the appropriate departments?
Yes, Madam President. Council President. The correspondence received by the City Clerk's office was forwarded to the appropriate departments for further action.
Thank you. At this time, we have public hearings. We're going to have we have some guests this afternoon who will be presenting some conceptual plans for the reimagined George Street. We are looking forward to have this presentation as Doug Snyder, you see here, Doug, very well done. If you could, as soon as we move, we're going to move to the pews over there in the front so we are able to see as a council the presentation. And then right afterwards, we will have Doug Snyder present the distinguished guests that we have tonight. And then after that, we will come back and reconvene with the meeting with the public comment portion of it, and then we will continue doing business as usual. Okay? So let's just move to the front.
Can I just, before we move, if you don't mind, just 1 second, I want everybody to just understand, this is a concept plan that's being presented to us. This is the first of a long process in the phase of what we're going to see and the business that we're going to need to do as a council. And I know people get excited when they see these things. I don't want anybody to think there's going to be a vote next week or it's going to happen that quickly. This is the beginning phases of, the work that we need to put into it to see if it's even feasible for it to happen.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I was going to mention that afterwards, but thank you for doing it back. Thanks. Will we start, Mr. Snyder? Thank you very much.
Would you like me to?
Whichever you feel comfortable with.
Council President, thank you for having us tonight. I thought it was appropriate, if it's okay with you, to read into public record the letter that was sent to this council that leads us for us being here tonight to see this exciting presentation of the reimagining of George Street. This was sent on December 6th. Dear honorable members of the New Brunswick City Council, On behalf of the New Brunswick City Market Board of Directors, I am writing to inform the Council that the City Market Organization has commissioned a study with DMR Architects, that's these gentlemen here, to create a conceptual plan that would enhance the overall experience for those who live, work, and visit the downtown city center business district. The project scope provides a traffic impact study of the downtown city center and surrounding area, along with 3 conceptual plans for enriching the George Street corridor by improving the pedestrian experience. With the heightened redevelopment throughout the city, the downtown corridor could dovetail on the enrichment of the city's overall progress and be reimagined, improving the quality of life for business, art, culture, residents, and all constituents. The Board of Directors of City Market has recently reviewed and unanimously agreed to the final conceptual drawings and traffic studies submitted by DMR Architects, and requests that the New Brunswick City Council members review the design options of the proposed George Street concept. And here we are. So thank you for having us tonight. Myself as chairperson of the Board of Directors of City Center, I'm proud to be here. We worked very hard on this, and I'll turn it over to DMR. They can introduce themselves and explain the exciting things that we've worked on that are simply concepts, but very exciting ones. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn the lights down a little bit. Let's see if I can get the right one. Is that better for everybody to be able to see? So I appreciate everybody's time this evening. My name is Francis Reiner. I think I'm loud enough and I don't need a microphone. If you can't hear me, just thumb up. I'm a partner at DMR Architects. I'm here today with 2 people that have been instrumental in helping us put together this plan. Patrick Downey, who is with Dynamic Traffic, is a principal, and Michael Bukowski is a project manager at DMR. Patrick was involved with all the traffic-related information that's as a part of our report, and Michael is responsible for really all the graphics that you're going to see tonight. So what we wanted to do is, I know we have a brief amount of time, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the accumulation of the work that we've done over the past year. We've been involved with George Street, we've been involved with Pam and Doug and their group, working back and forth to come up with these concept plans. So our objective as part of the process was to reimagine George Street between Bayard Street and Albany Street as a pedestrian-friendly, mixed-use type of street that could be the focal point within the downtown. And as part of that objective, we really worked on several different aspects, including the design, and we're going to show you 4 different options tonight that we had worked through. We also were involved in looking at traffic and what improvements would be necessary surrounding George Street in the event that one of the options was considered. We looked at the bus routes, and we also looked at the function of the street in terms of wayfinding and signage, delivery and pickups, as well as trash and loading. So with that, one of the things we do early on in the process is we look at precedent studies, and I know that we had provided, I believe you have a copy of, at least the council has a copy of this. There's a number of precedent studies from around the country and around the state of New Jersey, but we wanted to show you one because we thought it was particularly well suited in terms of what we're doing and proposing at George Street for one of the 4 options. In Jersey City, the Newark Avenue project is about 60,000 square foot. Just to give you an understanding, George Street is about 48,000 square feet, so it's a little bit smaller. It has an 85-foot width, whereas George Street is approximately 60 feet. It's 2 city blocks, where George Street is 3. And the cost of that was roughly $7 million. It was completed in 2022. And just to show you some pictures of some of the spaces that happen on Newark Avenue, obviously you can see the outdoor dining, but there's a lot of other programming that happens throughout the year. And so what we wanted to do was just kind of give you an understanding that we did a lot of research on what makes successful pedestrian streets around the country, and this is just one of the examples. As I mentioned, there were 4 options that we looked at we're going to go through. The first one was a no-build option, so essentially meaning that George Street stays in its current configuration. The second option was a full closure of George Street, understanding that Bayard Street, Patterson Street, and Church Street would still allow full traffic movement across George Street. but essentially it would be a full 100% pedestrian street that would allow for emergency vehicles only, really, no buses, no vehicles. The third option was a one-way vehicle-only option, and this would allow for the widening of the sidewalks, so larger outdoor dining areas, but it would keep a street one-way northbound from Bayard to Albany Street with a smaller street cross-section, so larger sidewalks. And the fourth option we're going to show you briefly tonight was a bus one-way only, again going northbound from Bayard to Albany Street. This was different in that this provides for a plaza still, but it has a dedicated bus lane as a part of the design. So the no-build option. The highlighted in red and yellow is our study area, Bayard being on the left side, Albany being on the right side, and George Street going right down the middle. So the idea here for the no-build options is that you don't have to do anything, and you can keep George Street in its current configuration. It is a 60-foot wide building-to-building facade dimension. The street is approximately 28 feet wide in width, with 16-foot sidewalks. And so there still could be temporary closures. This just shows it as a part of a time when there was a closure, but you can see that the road is two-way. It is 28 foot wide from curb to curb and then 16 to the building. So this was really our first option that we looked at to make sure that we didn't just assume that something had to be done. I'm going to let Michael walk through option 2, and then I'll come back and I'll present options 3 and 4.
Thanks, Frank. So option 2 is a great option for the most amount of flexibility with the 4 options that we've taken a look at. And it allows that flexibility because we're closing it, that full 60-foot closure, all the way across. And so here we can see a bird's eye view, which is just looking from the top down. That 60-foot intersection, George Street, for frame of reference, is running left to right. And the cross streets are running up and down. And this full closure, this word we're using here, still allows for that cross flow of traffic for loading zones and pickups for the businesses that are thriving on George Street and around the surrounding area, and allows for the pedestrian plaza to be activated in the same way. So both can thrive and succeed with this option. Now for option 2 also, something to consider is we are thinking about phasing this option. So phase 1 of option 2 is a pedestrian plaza, and option 2, phase 2, just adds temporary structures in the central spine part of this option. So this 60-foot width is broken down into a 24-foot central spine where we can actively program that spine with outdoor dining or kiosks, a local farmer's market, and that sidewalk on each side allows for the pedestrian flow both on each side of George Street. Here you can see, this is the intersection, Patterson and Church Street and George Street. Again, we've considered all aspects of the design, not just the pedestrian flow and how people engage with it, but with respect to the traffic and, the trash or recycling. It's an integral part into the design that's not an afterthought. So we really cared about even the littlest detail, such as traffic pickup and the vehicular movement through this option as well. And another aspect we felt was an opportunity to take advantage of is Kilmer Square Park is at the end of George Street, at the low part. And we saw that there could be an opportunity, although it's not owned by the city right now, Kilmer Square Park could be integrated with this pedestrian plaza by simply removing the wall there and have this beautiful, rich focal point at the end of this pedestrian plaza. Here's a human scale view, a conceptual rendering of what the entrance, as you're right along George Street, going into this pedestrian plaza could look like. On the left-hand side, we've got images of wayfinding, so you could know not only where you are within this plaza, but within the city at large. We've got a dedicated aisle for people to walk through, and in the center, you can see that 24-foot central spine being programmed with elements such as outdoor dining for the immediate businesses that would otherwise utilize that outdoor dining space in a different way. Another image taking a look, we've also introduced landscaping elements and trees to bring that natural green back into this otherwise hardscape solution. And at the end, this is looking at Church Street down. You can see the different ways we've also accounted for the businesses that have current restaurants to have an outdoor dining section dedicated to them as well within that 18-foot zone. And Kilmer Square Park, this conceptual idea about removing one wall and opening it up into this pedestrian plaza. So now I'd like to take you guys through an animation we had created that gives you the perspective as if you are walking down George Street with this particular option. And just as a pre-note, so we have both this animation, which shows the central spine not having any pavilions or temporary structures in it. And then we also have another video, but for sake of time, we're not going to show the other option that has the buildings in it. We're just going to show the one that has the closure without the central spine being activated. This is an aerial taking a look at some of the renderings that you guys had just seen previously, as if you're flying over on top and getting a glimpse of what George Street could be reimagined to be in this particular option. As if you're walking into this new pedestrian plaza with thriving interactions for local businesses. Local artists could be presenting their art along the central spine. Social interaction and engagement could really foster growth and development for the city. And this could be a hub, a central destination for people who are local to New Brunswick and outside to come to this destination within the city of New Brunswick. And again, as much as we've considered every single detail, from the bollard lighting to the signage and wayfinding, we've also thought about the trash and recycling enclosure as equally as important to the design, as to not disrupt the flow of traffic from pedestrian and vehicular standpoint. We've got some Tivoli lighting for outdoor dining, great experience that could activate this spine. And the connection of Kilmer Square Park by just simply removing one wall, what that could be. Thank you. Now, as I had mentioned before, option 2, since it allows the most flexibility, there's a phase 2 as part of this effort, activating that central 24-foot spine with temporary or more permanent structures. So I'm just going to show a couple images of what that same view looking like at George Street entering this pedestrian plaza could look like with a more temporary pavilion or structure or permanent solution to it. You could have an outdoor trellis, and you could have a gallery space showcasing local artists and highlighting and celebrating the work, or use it for venues and outdoor events. It's equally as important that we've thought about these summer projects as we're showing it in the beautiful weather. But as we all know, we have to carefully consider how it can be programmed all year round. And so we've thought about not only the programming during the day, during the summer months, but in the wintertime, how we could activate that with kiosks and a winter festival. And there's even enough width to have an ice rink. I'll pass it over to Fran, and he'll Summarize the other two.
So the other two options are one-way northbound from Bayard to Albany Street, vehicle only. So again, just in plan, this is all 3 city blocks. Again, Bayard, Patterson, and Church would all be able to flow through, but from a design standpoint, you can see that the road is narrow. This is a curb. You can see the curbs, and those sidewalks have widened in this option, right? So it's northbound in one direction. It's a 22-foot wide so that if a car stops, another car can get around it. But the idea is that it's one way. It's a less impactful maybe design than the pedestrian plaza. And then the last option we looked at is the bus only, again, northbound from Bayard to Albany Street. The difference here is that we transition from each intersection up 6 inches to a plaza that is flush across in the middle. So you can see that in the beginning portion of the radius, it's about 6 inches, and it goes up to a flush surface. So in the middle, it's but what we've shown here is dedicated bus, so that buses would be able to go on and off through this in the northbound direction. We spent a lot of time on a lot of other things. I'm briefly going to talk about it because I know I only have a few minutes. Patrick is here to answer any questions. But Patrick's group, Dynamic Traffic, was involved with the traffic analysis feasibility. And what they looked at is a number of things. They looked at the existing conditions. They went out and did parking. They went out and did traffic counts weekdays, morning and night, and weekends. Then they did some research on some historic data. There's a company that's called Streetlight that allows you to actually look at traffic data from a historical standpoint. So Patrick's group was able to go back in and look at how the areas around George Street function from a traffic standpoint before, during, and after COVID. At times before George Street was closed, at times during George Street was closed, and then after. And then what he did is he put together some options in terms of short-term recommendations that if George Street, in the worst case scenario from a traffic standpoint, were fully closed, that those short-term improvements would essentially allow the traffic to function as it does today with George Street open. So these are more like timing of lights improvements, stretching out and enlarging some of the turn lanes. So with a minimal amount of improvements, the traffic conditions would be no worse than they are if George Street weren't closed. And then he offered some long-term options in terms of improvements, and these would improve the situation even in the event that George Street was closed. So traffic was a big part of what we looked at and included as a part of our study. We also looked at transportation routes for the buses, for all 3 bus routes, and provided different options within our report. I won't go through those, but we looked at how the buses functioned today, how they functioned during the time that George Street was previously closed, and then we offered some options in our report for the NJ Transit, for Rutgers, and for the MCAT. We also looked at wayfinding as an issue from both a pedestrian standpoint and from a vehicular standpoint. So in the report, it shows the green here that you can probably barely make out. Those are new signs that we're proposing to get to existing parking structures and or future parking structures. And then we did the pedestrian wayfinding signage as well that Michael talked about and showed in one of the examples. And then the last piece that I'll end with is the importance of function. It's not enough just to create a beautiful place. You actually have to make sure that it functions properly. And so the importance of how deliveries are dropped off, how pickups are made for those restaurants, how loading is done on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and how trash is collected are all critical to making a place be successful or not be successful. And we spent a lot of time looking at these options for how, if full closed, how you could actually implement these and it will work better than it does under a no build option. So with that, I appreciate everybody's time this evening. These are our contact information. We're going to be here to answer questions. It's my understanding we're also going to be back on February 7th to answer questions as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the council is going to move back to the table before we do the portion part of this and comments.
My friend, signs all this.
Colleagues have any questions and comments that you would like to ask? This is the time before we go into the vote. Portion of the presentation. Anybody, any questions? Go ahead. Councilman Anderson?
Let's start with wintertime snow removals, shovels, plows. How is that going to be handled?
So there are going to be some questions you're going to ask tonight that we might not have the answer to. What I'd like to propose is that if we don't have the answer, Michael is going to take some notes for us, and we will get back to the council president by February 1st. Certainly, from snow removal, we're not reinventing the wheel. These types of environments occur. What we'll do is we'll do a little research to make sure we can explain exactly how some others do it and how the city may consider doing it as well.
I'm assuming that all cutouts and corners and everything else, even though the lips are there, will be ADA compliant, even getting into Westcomer Park or whatever like that.
Absolutely, of course.
The emergency fire trucks, say it's not one of the ones where we have the vehicles going back and forth. It's easier to remove those lighted ballots and
Yes, so we met with both the police department and the fire department, and we talked to them about their required clearance in order to allow for emergency vehicles. We obviously have the bollards that would be able to be, temporary bollards that would be able to be knocked down in the event of emergency that the fire department would be able to go through. So we had those conversations, and we think that based on those conversations, the design could easily accommodate emergency vehicles in those types of situations.
the restaurants that are there that have tables outside. Is there more, less, the same? Would you know?
Yeah, so the space that we've allocated in option 2, which is the full well, in all of the options except for the no build, there would be more space for outdoor dining. Obviously, the option 2, which is the full closure, would have the most available space in terms of more outdoor dining than is today, but all the options 2, 3, and 4 all provide more outdoor dining.
And with those restaurants and stores, getting to the trash bins that are off to the side streets or whatever, there's enough room, space, and recycle and
Yes, so as part of our research, there's been a couple of different projects that have been done in New York City with City Bin, a company called City Bin, and essentially they can be added onto or removed. So we provided plenty of room in terms of what we think is the capacity at the moment. But if the capacity needs to be more, bins can simply be added on, and they're fixed to the ground. They're rodent-proof. And they would allow to be locked and opened by the businesses.
thank you, that's all for now.
Anybody else?
I do. Mr. Chairman, if you could just clarify, I believe that the responsibility of the council for a project such as this would be that it's our responsibility to determine whether we want to close a road, if we want to close a road, how we would want to do that, and then to rebuild through ordinances what we would allow back into that space if it does happen. And in order to determine all of that, like I personally would need to see a programming schematic or some type of plan that maybe the city market has to put forward for a year of programming, what that would look like, who would be doing the programming, who would be responsible for it, what the cost would be so we could determine if it's even feasible for us to do a project like this, where the funding would come from. So there's a lot of those smaller variables, not small variables, but a lot of variables that we have to look at from the legal side of this as a council to determine, if the closure is feasible and best for the community as a whole. And is that what our duties are as far as this is concerned?
The legal authority would extend to the closure of George Street. Usually done by ordinance, unless it's temporary. We've done that in the past. But if you were to close George Street and sign on to one of these concepts, yes, that would have to be done by ordinance. The ordinance with respect to the closure of the right-of-way can be specific, but also with your planning and zoning departments as to what outside dining may be permitted, what streetscapes and landscaping may be authorized or required under the plan. But your reference to the programming, obviously, that sounds like an important element to it. And I suspect City Market would have the role in providing the programming. To my knowledge, the City of Brunswick isn't in the programming business. So I think you would need to have a partnership with them and a commitment from City Market and a monetary commitment to have City Market participate in that programming, you know, on infinitum if you were to go ahead and provide the closure of George Street, let's say, and have all of these improvements accomplished.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the council? Any questions, comments? I just have something minor. Some of the things that we had heard formerly, it was that they were concerned that there was not enough, anything that we do, you know, that it was presented to us or in the future, that it provides some type of space for our residents, our community to sit, right? Sitting space, all of that is not dedicated just for dining purposes, dining outdoors. And I think I only saw one rendition, which is using the park in the corner. It does something that could be also looked at, unless I missed it, because I think it's important to have that as part of the community, those segments of the community, besides the dining, you know, the people that are coming into town, that our community is able to enjoy also just to sit. If you want to just sit down, have a nice day looking at the gallery or looking at a show, or just sitting down, just looking at people, that they have the ability to do that also.
Yes, so absolutely within that in the full closure, within that 24-foot, there would be opportunities to do fixed permanent seating that would allow for that. We went back and forth with what to show, but that certainly could be added in as a part of the, if the step goes forward with that, we'd be able to add that in.
Thank you. So, any other questions from, yes?
You talked about Jersey City, 7 million. Is that roughly what this is costing?
So because we don't have a full understanding of the underground utility, it would be difficult for me to give you a number that would be accurate. What I wanted to, by sharing that, is to show you that a project slightly larger, what that cost was. So you have at least an understanding of the type of commitment financially to make a project like that happen. That project was 60,000, this is 48. But because we don't know all the underground utility issues, some of our sewer issues, it would be difficult for me to give you an accurate number at this point.
Is there any range?
Let me see if we can figure that out and
100 million.
come back with some response for you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the council? And just before we open up for public to comment, right? I just want to remind that this is just concepts, these are just ideas, this is not in stone yet. We're just looking and I know the council is very intentionally wants to hear from the public, so this is just a process. There's a lot of things that still loose that we need to address. Funding, you know, what's the best, you know, what works better. So this is just to have a conversation. It's the beginning of a conversation of a process, right? So don't feel that this is like Councilwoman Sigurado, we said that this is, we're gonna make a decision today or we're gonna make a decision next, you know, at the next meeting. It's not. This is a process. This is just the beginning. We just wanted to make sure that we were aware, everybody's together. So at this time, if you have any questions, I will invite you to come to the microphone and as you know the process, up to 5 minutes. And one time off.
Hi, yes, Danielle Moore, Somerset Street. First, may I ask whose idea was to even think about this?
About the pens?
Yes.
To reimagine George?
About giving them permission to even check this out. Whose idea was this?
This is something that the Brunswick City Market and the City Center have been working on, and we were aware, we discussed it here before, that we were looking at to see what would be a good way to enhance what we have, what we offer with the summer. I know there were some concerns that were there.
Well, okay, I don't want you to speak, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to use up my
But
time.
you want answers, so I need to.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Now, honestly, I would say you can't tell me the Lord doesn't let me see things for a reason. With you saying closing the road, and due to where, I'm pretty sure they can say situation down to the Helgers earlier with the fire alarm going off, an issue where I had it on record, with the fire trucks going through the traffic. Number one reason why you should not close the road. How many overdoses do we have down there? The situation where, the ambulance can get free through, like I said, on record. Then wow, with Mr. Anderson saying about the snow being removed, what? I can't let you see it.
What is your question, Ms. Danielle?
Due to where what? How the city didn't clean out so much ice all down there on the sidewalks now, no safety issue.
I would love to see that right now. We are
Well, like I said,
okay,
you never do want to see the truth. Like I said, it's my time. I should be able to play what I want. It's my time. But like I
to talk
said,
about the George Street rate man in this presentation, you will have time.
well,
later on to address
like I
anything else.
said, my point is, did Mr. Anderson speak on snow? So like I said, I don't see why you love to just try to aggravate me, to get me angry. What, just so I get kicked out of here?
No, ma'am.
What, so why was it appropriate for Mr.
Okay,
Anderson?
okay.
Well, all right, then thank you. If you guys can't handle with removing the snow just from 1 to 3 inches we had from Monday, and what, it's not clear down there due to where what? I had mentioned on it to call somebody down there to all the sheet of ice down there. Come on. So, and like I said, wow, when I told you last year was not a good year, one thing I would love about it, main thing, was my fun time, that's the music. I love music. But like I said, due to where what, did it make any money last year? No, it did not. Due to where what, you spiked up the parking meters for the parking authority to allow no parking on Sunday, free parking on Sundays anymore. Due to where what, nobody's gonna pay $20 to $30 to come over here and park. And then plus do outdoor dining. And then you stopping our buses for our senior citizens and disabled who cannot get around. You're distracting other people's businesses as well. And then wow, with the traffic due to where, just to prove with the Elks Lodge getting knocked down, that's going to be redone, run a 26-floor luxury. How much traffic are we going to really have there? If you have to wait over 25 minutes just to get from Kirkpatrick Street to over here to New Street and Livingston Avenue, come on, there's no reason. It looks beautiful, but everything is not about beauty. Is beauty making New Brunswick better? Is beauty making the crime go down? Is beauty making drinking and driving going down? Is beauty making what? Overdoses, drugs going down? Please. Like I said, oh sure, things can look beautiful, but think about the things that we really do need. And like I said, your work is very interesting. I love it, but believe me, with that much money, I think you guys need to start paying attention to what will make our city much better. As a resident of 47 years here in New Brunswick, do I feel you council members are doing anything? No, I don't. Same thing I told the planning board and the zoning board. You're destroying New Brunswick.
Thank you, Ms. Danielle. Next.
Hi, April Nicholas, 143 Sedan Street. First, I just want to say thank you for the really quality presentation, and also thank you for allowing the presentation of a concept plan to the public early on in the process. We all understand that things take time, and I think oftentimes there's a tendency in government procedures to wait until everything is finalized to share because of concern over confusion, and that sometimes leads to people feeling like they've been left out of the process, or like what they want doesn't matter. And so I think what's really excellent about starting the public dialogue so early on is that it enables more input, gives people more of a heads up that change is possible, so they can be excited about it instead of being caught off guard, and hopefully also end up with a better end product that is going to be better for everyone who's going to be using that space. So thank you for having the public hearing. I do have a few questions. So one is a question about bicycle infrastructure. I think I had seen in the pedestrian plaza option something about signage for no bikes on the pedestrian plaza, so I'm just wondering if there's any of the options that have been envisioned that do have bike infrastructure included.
So option 2, which is the full closure, when we spoke with City Market, it was decided that from a safety standpoint, it would be best if we had signage that did not allow bicycles to ride through George Street to the pedestrian area because of pedestrian safety. So we have on the ground on some of those images, we've placed what we would say dismount bike so that you have to walk the bicycle through on that particular option. Options 3 and 4, the one-way and the bus. The one-way would certainly have enough room since we have 22 feet to allow for a dedicated bike lane on one side. Again, it would be northbound only, and the same would be the case with the bus, option 4. So we believe that just from a safety standpoint, you would not want bicycles on option 2, which is the full pedestrian code.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. For what it's worth, I think option 4 sounds like a great option. I think that it, provides the function necessary with public transportation, and certainly if there's also bicycle infrastructure that provides a safe and enjoyable place for people to ride bikes. And I know when there's been previous conversation about dedicated bike lanes throughout the city, there's been some reluctance to embrace that concept because people aren't using, the bike lanes that exist as much as we'd like, and part of that's because they're not very safe and a little bit scary to ride on. And so I think that having a specific location in the city where people can feel very safe and welcomed to ride their bikes might also just increase that behavior, which would be a good thing for people and a good thing for the environment overall. I also want to ask about if there would be any inclusion of restrooms in this space, especially if we are trying to embrace the concept of this as a community space for people who are there for all reasons and not just there for any particular outdoor dining experience, if there would be restrooms available in any of these designs.
So for options 3 and 4, there would not be, which is the one-way vehicle and one-way bus. It would really function as it does now. In option 2, we did not discuss or consider restrooms, although in the option 2, phase 2, we've had some of the structures. That certainly could be something that could be considered because there are some structures and buildings that could be built that could have that, but it would be part of the next step in the design process.
Okay, great. And I do appreciate the note that you made earlier about the importance of having open seating and community space, not just restricted to any given business. I feel like that is important because we want this to be a space not just for outdoor dining, but outdoor everything else too. And on that note, I do just want to inquire, there's been a trend in a lot of architecture of outdoor spaces in various urban areas to include what's generally known as hostile architecture to try and discourage certain types of behaviors or certain uses of the space by, for example, people who are homeless. And I do just want to inquire, can we go into this process with a commitment to not introduce hostile architecture that is going to make the space less usable for members of our community?
Thank you. Keep it in mind. Thank you so much. Next.
Good evening, Council. Charlie Prattville, Sedan Street in Brunswick. I want to echo a lot of what was just said. Certainly, it is a welcome change to have a substantive presentation to the public and an opportunity to comment on it here at these meetings, and hope to see more of it. I did want to also speak up for public restrooms. I think that as I talk to people around the city, a lot of folks are struggling to find places to use the restroom, and unfortunately, that leads to all sorts of bad situations that we just don't want to have. And I know other cities have accommodations to make sure folks have restrooms, especially in busy destination places like downtown. So I hope that that will be ultimately included somehow, some way in whatever is done. I also feel like well, a little bit torn about public transportation, right? You know, I think that we want to make the space as inviting as possible to pedestrians, but we also have a lot of people who need the bus to get downtown and need the bus to get back home, and they have been somewhat inconvenienced by the past closures of George Street. I know that, you know, a lot of folks have complained about the rerouted buses being on Nelson Street instead of George Street. And, you know, despite many of those routes having now been rerouted for almost 3 years or 3 years or more, you know, there's still not really shelters or even really good signage to tell people where the sort of temporary stops are. And, you know, I think part of the reason that, you know, the closures have been so controversial is because there's so much traffic and so many people driving cars around that, you know, something has to give. And one thing we can do to change that equation is get more people to use public transportation, and I feel like we're doing a terrible job of that because it's gotten harder to use public transportation as the county has cut back its services, as the city has cut back its services, as, you know, routes have been adjusted, but new accommodations haven't been made for shelters or for signage. And I just think that, you know, we have to be very conscious of making it easy for people to get to and from downtown without bringing a huge vehicle with them. That will make it a more pleasant place to be, and you know, we need to include that in whatever it is we do. I also, you know, agree with having public seating, that somebody can just go to Burger King and come sit down and just claim a seat and take a seat and eat their Burger King there. You know, not having to you know, have a sit-down dinner at a place with a liquor license just to get a seat. And as you said, sometimes people just want to sit and not buy anything or eat anything, but they should be able to do that in a place like this. And so I think that, you know, regardless of any closure, we need to have more public spaces that are open to folks. And so I'm encouraged by some of the things I saw. I also want to thank the architects for sending me some of the renderings, and you know, for making themselves available to be here. And just one final point on bicycles. I'm also torn about that one, and I understand that you know, safety should come first, right? That's sort of my takeaway, is that, you know, whatever's going to have the least unsafe situations, the least crashes, the least conflict is the path forward, I think, to make this the most pleasant and inviting space it can be. And so I encourage you to keep those principles in mind, and I don't really have any questions, but thank you for listening.
Thank you. So, anybody else?
Good afternoon, Carlos Ramirez reporting in Brunswick today. I was just curious about, I like the design with the one-way traffic going through it, better than having the entire road closed off. Now, I was wondering, we have tall buildings here, with the ladder from fire apparatus, would that fit in? I know when they bring up the ladder, there's the things that stretch out from the sides. Would that fit in, or would that end up falling into the sidewalk if that wasn't designed? Was that considered into it? Like, what were some of the ideas of one of these buildings? I know the one with the Mexican console is a bit taller. I don't think if there's cars parked at night, or if there are cars, I don't think it's accessible on the one-way streets for any apparatus or mutual aids to fit in if one of these buildings were to go up on fire. So I was just curious about that, accessibility of whether it be the ladder itself going up, opening the legs on the side, and also, you know, big incident where there might be several injuries with different EMS and ambulances or other type of vehicles fitting in through the scene of the location. Just some of that considerations.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we met with the police and fire. We talked to the fire department about what clear area they would need in order to be able to maneuver through the space from a safety standpoint. And at the end of the day, that was 18 foot. So the way that the the plaza has been designed is you have 18 foot on one side, then you have 24 foot in the central zone, and then 18 foot on the other side, which would allow a fire truck, if the fire was on one side, to actually use the 18 foot further away, because you wouldn't want to bring a fire truck directly next to that building. So we've actually provided what we think is a very flexible option from a safety standpoint to allow for those trucks to be able to maneuver, but maneuver not necessarily right next to the building that where the emergency is occurring.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So at this time, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said at the beginning, this is just a beginning of conversation. I am looking forward to continue hearing from what else, with the input of everybody else, any more. So thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us.
Can we just have 2 minutes to clean up? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Is that-
I give you one. No.
We'll be quick. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yo sé que algunos son de muy
Is this Patterson Street, including Patterson Street on this one?
I'll take this round.
So let's continue with the meeting. I will just inform that they left the rendering, so when we will have a chance after the meeting, if you want to see them more closely or take pictures, we're welcome to it after the meeting. So at this time, we have ordinance for discussion, the second reading. We have ordinance 012401, with ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the city of New Brunswick, Title 2, Administration and Personnel, Title Chapter 2.28, Officers and Department Heads, generally Section 2.2807, compensation. This is in reference to council member compensation. Does any member of my colleagues and member of the council have any questions on this? At this time, before we go into the public hearing, I would like to have Mr. Cruz give us a snapshot, if you want to go a summary and overview of what we are proposing here.
My pleasure, Council President. So the City Council tonight is considering an ordinance to review annual salaries. The council, in the proposal, the council president, currently the council president earns $14,000 and members of the council earn $13,500. The last wage increase was in 2021, and that was based on an ordinance that was passed in 2017. The proposed ordinance, introduced January 3rd, 2024, calls for an annual salary for the council president to be increased to $17,750 as of February 1st, 2024, while the other members of the city council would earn $17,250. Under the proposal, the council president would earn $21,500 beginning in 2026, while city council members would see a raise of $21,000 beginning the same year. Following the proposed increase beginning in 2028, the council president and the city council will receive an increase of $1,000 with raises of $1,000 every other year through 2034. In determining the proposed salary guide, city officials conducted an analysis of cities around the state with governing bodies with similar responsibilities. Even with the proposed increase, New Brunswick would still spend considerably less for the position compared with major cities like Elizabeth, Trenton, Hoboken, and others, as well as such Middlesex County communities as Woodbridge, Carteret, and Edison. The salary review comes at a time when municipal taxes in New Brunswick have remained relatively flat in recent years. It's been fueled by the $6 billion in redevelopment. Revenue from redevelopment is used to enhance local neighborhoods and help ensure a steady municipal tax rate year over year.
Thank you. So at this time, we are opening the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only. You have up to 5 minutes per person. Any member of the public who wishes to talk to the council on this ordinance only, come up.
Good evening, Council. Charlie Cradaville, New Brunswick Today. I just want to put some facts on the record. So in 2016, the salary for the council was $9,000. In 2017, the council voted to give themselves raises, and that was a 16.67% increase at that time. You also gave yourselves future increases so that you got one in 2019 that was a 9.52% increase, and then 2021 a 17.39% increase. If I'm not mistaken, this proposal now is going to be a 27.78% increase. Is that correct?
I didn't do the numbers, but when you did the, do you have that information?
I'd be glad to check Mr. Crowder's numbers if you want to say
Fact numbers,
yes.
because I cannot say one or the other because I don't have that figure.
Yeah, it's just right now it's 13.5. The increase is to 17.250. So by my math here, that's almost 28% pay increase. What does the council think it's done to deserve that kind of pay increase? And what is this the highest increase ever in the history of the city of New Brunswick?
I don't know if it's the highest increase in the history of New Brunswick.
I mean, it's a big 28% raise.
I think that Mr. Crowder, and I could understand what you are alluding to, but I think that this council took into consideration all the facts, looking at everybody else, like it was just mentioned, analysis of their cities, what we have done in Brunswick, the work that we have. We got to ensure that we continue to have members of the councils that are able to continue and bringing forth new ones that have the ability to continue, the legacy of whatever it is that the other councils have done. I think that it would attract, and also, I think that we had done, besides the opinions of some, right? I think this council has been very active in the community, has been very active to ensure that we serve our residents to the best of our abilities. So although I hear what you're alluding to, I think that is something that is deserved at this time, and it's merit, right? It's merited at this time.
Council President, to answer your question, by my math, Mr. Crowderville is actually, I think it's around 22%. So that's $3,750. So the percentage seems
big,
but I just want to be clear, someone knows the math, Mr. Crowderville's math, it's only $3,750.
Thank you for that. Anybody would like to say anything on this? Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll continue. I don't know if there's another raise built in there, and then raises forever. Are there any?
No, forever.
Are there,
It's 20, it's got that, to
2034.
Yes, it's
At
got.
$25,000.
so raises until 2034. Are there any other city employees that have automatic raises for the next decade lined up?
This is the only elected governing body for the city.
Right, I know, but police officers have a union, they have a contract, every 3-4 years, they work out raises. This would be a 10-year project. And what would the final rate, the final amount be, $25,000 a year per council member?
In 2020, yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of raises. We were at 9,000 in 2016. So,
Either that or we're too low before.
well, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder here, but one thing you pointed out is you look at other towns. And so we've talked about, this council has 0 committees. You don't have any committees. It was said at the last meeting, that's because our form of government, we don't have to do that, we don't have that. But I would challenge you to look at Piscataway, which, aside from having ward-based elections, has the exact same form of government. 7-member council, mayor council, form of the Faulkner Act. Their council has committees. The council members are engaged in other meetings outside of the main meeting where they do business and report back. Will you consider doing that
Well, I
if
don't
you
know
get a
what-
raise?
I don't know why you're referring to committees. I know that situation was raised by one lady, and she was talking specifically about health, and there's some issues that the administration takes care of that. We have this council, this member of some committees. I am the liaison to the housing authority. Mr. Anderson, you are in the senior citizen, right? Councilwoman Sigura Ludwig is part of the city market and part of the planning. Human relations, rent control. So we are involved in other committees, but your time is up. But it's something, so we are involved. Not only that, but we are also involved in the fabric of what's going on in the city at any time. So thank you.
If I may just clarify, I wasn't talking about liaisons. Liaisons are a different thing than the
What is
council
the
having
same? What
committees.
is the same?
I'll also note that the council used to have twice as many meetings, used to have agenda meetings. Would you consider
Thank you.
adding that?
The time
if
is
you get a
up.
raise?
Thank you.
Would you consider doubling the time if you get a raise?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Like I said, I don't even like to come up here and stand up here to any of you council members. If it wasn't me for getting a blessing every time, due to where, like I said, wow, do I see you doing racism? Like I said, wow, how do you let someone know the disrespect against Mr. Crowder? But wow, how does he get almost 8 minutes to talk every time? Well, wow, one moment if I go over, you go get Jamal James and have me, what, put out of here? And then you wonder what I keep saying, racism, so forth about, please. Do I think you council members deserve a raise? No, I do not. Because wow, what are you doing for this community? Like I said, I do more work and everything voluntary with paperwork than you no good council members do. Everyone asked me to be a council member, but what did I tell them? I don't want to sit with a bunch of people who are dishonest, telling lies for their friends, clearing their rear ends, and what, you're not doing anything for the community. What, just like I said, wouldn't dare take that seat, even though it increased for $17,000. Do you work for what you do? No. But wow, you didn't want to give our city employees who are busting their ass every day, 7 days a week out there. Oh, 1% not even nowhere, but wow, for you guys to get a raise, give yourself a raise with a snap of a finger like that? Please, Lord, get some people in here to help us. Like I said, we will see a change in New Brunswick. But like I said, you are destroying New Brunswick. Just looking out for your friends, money-wise, and making excuses for other people covering their rear ends. But okay, God bless. I did see you, like I said, and I said at the last meeting, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oh, it was touching heart to see everybody working together. But wow, we can see that more than, 2 times out of a whole year? It'll be different. But do I feel that you deserve this? Oh, almost every meeting you come to, just for saying the word yes, you will be making $600 a day? Just sitting on your rear end saying yes, 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 like you're really doing something? Please, Lord, replace these people who are destroying New Brunswick.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just want to clarify, it's not $600 a day. Go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Carlos Ramirez, New Brunswick Today reporter. I just had some clarification someone to ask regarding the parking on the bridge. I know before you mentioned that is Amtrak property.
We're not there yet. This is just for the ordinance and the salary increase.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes. Now we have an ordinance on first reading. We have ordinance 012-402. This is an ordinance to amend the management salary ordinance.
Move the ordinance setting down February 7, 5:30 PM, same date to be advertised. Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes. Then we have resolutions 1 to 63. Do any of my fellow council members have any questions or comments on the resolutions at this time? And no, at this time, we are prepared to open the meeting to public comment on the resolutions only. You have up to 5 minutes. One time up, please come up.
Hi, yes, I'd like to start on number 20. May I ask if the city out of salt, even though this was our first snow that we had, are they low on salt already?
Mr. Valenti, it's not part of the resolution, but go ahead and answer Ms. Danielle.
This is a standard annual contract which we enter into the year. The contract ends in November. We fill our salt bins right at the end of November, so we're totally stocked for the winter. After the 2 events, we have a replenishment order of 300 tons on, but we have enough salt for at least 2 or 3 more events.
Okay, thank you. Glad to hear. Well, I think, like I said, after showing, well, you wouldn't let me speak on the video at that time due to where I do, especially downtown areas, sheets of ice due to where, Due to where was the salt? Like I said, why do I call in? Why do I do more work than you guys? How much I be calling down here to the mayor's office, this and that, doing that? I do more than you guys. Like I said, I don't walk through New Brunswick just to relax and enjoy, but like I said, no matter if I do see something, which is how many times a day, I would still take responsibility and due to I don't want to see anyone get hurt because I know money don't take away pain. But I think the city does need to do a better job with salting and advising businesses as well with putting salt down. For example, where Walgreens, come on, with the kids going to school today. What are you going to ice skate all the way through certain places with New Brunswick? Please, I think it's best that you really start due to where expecting another snowstorm coming Friday, but wow, you don't want ice under snow due to where that's going to create a dangerous situation of sliding. So please, I hope that a lot of roads that we still need to be salted and sidewalks as well and residents as well, I hope you get to it, please. Thank you. Then my other concern is that's with Jersey Avenue. That's 59? 59? Now, does this have to do with anything with the sewage backup? Is this something with regards to, like with Joyce Summer, whenever it floods over there, it mixes with the sewage? Or is this something different?
Mr. Valenti, resolution 59. This is the one that
Sewage backup.
We are doing procuring services with.
Correct. There was a sewage blockage that we believe was caused by the effluent from the pastry factory. It was like a margarine or butter that literally clogged the system. We put them on notice. Our intention is to go and recoup the funds from them.
Thank you.
So this has nothing to do with flooding and whenever it floods, that sewage doesn't mix with this, nothing with this case?
The sewage blockup, no, the flooding is storm issues, not sanitary sewage.
Well, due to where I still see what sewage, when it floods, sewage is mixing with the water. We've been talking about this many years, and what I even showed the county with and I showed you a couple of times as well.
Ms. Danielle, but it doesn't have, this particular doesn't have to do with what you're talking about. Thank you. Any other question?
The lot 55, what will this be for the police department? Counseling? Well, then honestly, I say the type of counseling that the officers need is, wow, stop judging people by the color of their skin or where they're from. And like I said, the type of counseling you need is to try to understand how to work with people with mental disorders, get training at the type of counseling I really see, but like I said, get counseling for your racism.
I just want to make you aware that 55 is a counsel, and she's a lawyer for the police department.
Well, either way, like I said, they need counseling, either way.
Good evening once again, Charlie Prattville. I'll start
You did
with
laugh.
bottom of page 3, Samuel Klein and Company, professional service agreement. They used to be the auditor for the Middlesex County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. Through the chair to Mr. Drulis, why did they leave that position?
Mr. Lewis, do you have that, do you even want to answer that question? Do you have the answer to that? And I don't think it pertains to doing right now, but.
That would be a question for the JIF.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we happen to have the JIF commissioner here, right? So I guess my thought is that if my theory is correct and they left on bad terms with the JIF, which the JIF's had some problems with their audits, they've had to go back and restate them much later on, and millions of dollars difference. If the auditor is no longer with the JIF because of that, why are they with the city? The city's part of the JIF.
Council President, as it relates to Samuel Klein with the city and Samuel Klein has performed the standards that are expected. We continue to meet all the requirements for the state. There's not been any issues. Mr. Gravel sees the audits. I know he does for the city. And if there's any issues, he should let us know. But in the absence of such, they're a qualified auditor and we work.
I'll move on to page 5, number 28. Environmental review, section 106 review consultant. Can Mr. Dominguez speak to this? I see it's being rebid. What's the purpose of this bid?
I will ask Mr. Dominguez. Yes, Mr. Dominguez.
Yes, thank you. We have somebody, or we had someone, Tetra Tech, who performed this service for us for about 2 years now. No one bid when we went back out to bid I want to say at the end of December, early in January. So we have to go out to bid, so we're asking for permission to go back out and get someone to do the service for us.
Thank you.
It doesn't have to do with any specific project or developing.
This is just general assistance on environmental reviews for federal projects from time to time when they're necessary.
Okay. Another for Mr. Dominguez, number 53, reallocation of 40 grand for shade trees and 200 grand for owner-occupied affordable housing development rehab. I was not able to attend the meeting on this. Can I just get a summary of why the money's being moved and what prompted that shift?
Yes, so last year we created a revolving relocation fund account so as to not lean on the CDBG funds that we could deploy into sort of more capitally kind of investments. So this is the remainder of what's still in the relocation fund from the CDBG that we never used. And we're trying to use that for shade trees in the city targeting areas that could use them. The other portion is that we're looking to partner with New Brunswick tomorrow on the gut rehabilitation of a couple of properties in the city that will be converted once brought up to modern codes and cleaned up into affordable owner-occupied housing.
Thank you.
May I ask how much time I have left?
Council President, he has a minute and 25 seconds.
Okay, so I'll do the last one first here. The resolution appointing Matthew Ferguson to join this council and replace Kevin Egan. This was not on the agenda when it was sent out on Friday. Why was this added at the last minute? We saw this
I
comment.
asked to be added to this meeting. We just received the information. The council had a consensus. And I wanted to make sure that it happened today. There was no need to continue waiting longer. So that's why it's there. So it's my fault that I put it in today, okay? Yeah.
Well,
So there's nothing to it. It's just that I asked our city attorney to put it in for today.
Okay, thank you for owning up to that. I was just curious about the timing on that, and I, of course, wish the new member well. I did have a couple others since I have some time to ask about them. Can I get information about French and Perillo's contract number 48? What is that for? Consulting engineering services? Is that to take over for the city engineer, or is that to do something different?
Mr. Valenti, that's you.
Yeah, this is a contract to provide engineering services, and as the current engineer, I guess he retires at the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Lewis can correct me on that, and it's to provide service as an interim engineer and an interim plan reviewer until such time we can secure permanent one.
Is there a specific individual at Fresh Perillo that will be serving as the engineer?
We will find out later on after the meeting. Talk to Mr. Valenti. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the resolutions? Seeing none?
Move the resolutions.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes, with the exception of 53, where I abstain.
Duly noted. Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Secor Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes. So before we go into the public portion of the meeting, I just want to, does anybody at the council wishes to say something before? I just want to update real quick. Mr. Lewis, in the last meeting, there was a question about transportation, especially for those who might be displaced on towns that are placed outside of the city outskirts, if you want to call it. Can you give us an update on that?
Sure. Speaking of micro transit.
Transit.
Yes. So there was a question regarding micro transit. This is a county program contracted, the county has contracted with VIA for the purposes of creating a micro transit pilot program here in the city of New Brunswick. You may have heard of VIA. They have a positive record in providing civil services to cities like Jersey City, City of Arlington, and Sarasota County. It's targeted to roll out in this end or the spring of 2024, and envisioned within the city, the final geofencing needs to be completed for the borders. Users can call for a ride or from an app or by a phone. It's likely going to be a corner-to-corner possible ride share program. The county is refining the hours and the payment structure, but it will be a low-cost, on-demand option for our residents. That's really the details I have. The county, I'm glad to continue to liaison with the county, provide you answers to your questions.
Thank you. So it's in the works.
It is.
It's in progress. I also want to make sure that if there's any emails that need to be directed to the public information officer, that they be sent to
Yes,
JT
Bert,
either.
to Bert.
Huh?
The one has to send to Bert.
Bert and JT, right?
Primarily Bert for the time being.
For
I'm
the
sorry.
time.
Yes.
Okay, we were discussing.
Yes, we did. I have this additional information. I mean, Bert will continue to
To
take
continue?
that role.
Okay, good. So disregard what I just said. And also, before we go into the public, I just want to congratulate, we have sworn in 7 new police officers. So congratulations to all of them as they join our city police department. So at this time, let's open the floor for the public. We are opening, as you know, this is public comment. You have up to 5 minutes. And at this time, anybody or any member of the public who wishes to address us, begin.
All right. Carlos Ramirez reporting New Brunswick today. I wanted to inquire about the parking under the bridge on Amtrak that's on Railroad Avenue. I know you mentioned before it's owned by Amtrak. Just wanted to get some clarification if parking is allowed under there or there's certain times it's allowed.
So, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Valenti, I wasn't even there. Thank you.
In the state of New Jersey, there's no parking allowed under any underpass, whether it be railroad or interstate or state highway, due to a fire that occurred in Jersey, Newark, I believe, in '78. There was a bunch of garbage anyway, melted the roadway collapsed. So that's been a long-standing state law. We, several years ago, enhanced our ordinance to include that, and under any railroad elevation in the city, there is no parking at any time.
That's right.
Okay, so now I still see that recently that rule got enforced, I want to say, but only at night time between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m. And it appears that I'm still not sure who is issuing those tickets. I did not get clarification on that. But regardless of the time, there's always cars under there 24/7, at least from what I've seen on the Dawson side street from church members, as well as the Dam Street side. Now, on the Handy Street side, obviously, there's no way to park there, but that's just one thing that I wanted to mention. The cars are still parking there regardless. I don't know if that would be something the city could issue a statement on its social media platform, both in Spanish and English, instead of a normal post. If it could be a flyer with a picture or something like that, I feel like people might understand that more. Now, the other thing with the snow and everything going on, the cones and other obstructions on public parking, what is the rule on that? I understand last time I was told, like 7 years ago, that even though there are some type of miscellaneous items blocking the parking spot, to not take possession of it, just put it back into the sidewalk. Is the city collecting all those things and throwing it into the trash can? What is the...
I don't even know if we have, you mean when somebody's staying in the space?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sometimes they put a
Yeah,
coat,
reserving
put
their
a
spots,
chair.
yes.
So what you're asking if we have been collecting those if they're there?
Yeah, so before I was told, this was 7 years ago, that other residents or any people wanting to park there can...
Yeah, you cannot do that.
Yeah, they
cannot reserve space.
Yeah, I was told they cannot do that, it's illegal, but you cannot take possession of their items. All you gotta do is just put it into the sidewalk. So what is the city, still collecting those things and throwing it in the trash, or how is it
Do
going
we
on?
have any, are we aware of any incidents so that we have done that? I don't know if we will find out, but I'm assuming that if it's not our property, they put it on the side, and if it's there for a while, then I guess that we'll have to take possession, right? Because if it's not creating a nuisance, right?
Yeah.
But I cannot tell you. We will have to find out, because I haven't heard of any situation where we have to pick up.
Yeah, because I made a...
chair or anything.
Yeah, because I made a publishment about that, I don't know if it was a day ago. But many city residents explained that there's neighbors of theirs that have it 24/7, even if it's not snowing all year round. I've seen this location at, what's it called, Lee and Redmond Street, which has had the same coffee cans all stacked up for like at least 5 years. And I think they're still strong there. I don't know if they're filled up with sand or cement, but that's something that's going on. And yeah, I was just curious about that.
Is that I'm sorry, is that something that is enforceable? Lieutenant Hoover?
If someone blocks a parking space in front of their house with their garbage can or a cone they buy at Home Depot, we're not taking that property.
It's enforceable because it's that public space?
It's enforceable, yeah. You're not allowed to block your own space. The only time in the city of New Brunswick you are allowed to have your own exclusive parking spot on a city street is if you apply for it or granted a handicap permit.
You ever moved up to the sidewalk?
If we have to get involved, absolutely.
Okay.
So what can the public
We get
do?
involved with that.
So what can the public do to resolve this issue with neighbors like that having?
I think that a neighbor to neighbor talk is better than to call the police, before that, trying to resolve, if you have a good relationship, talking to the neighbors.
Yeah, there's at least one
But
person
if
I
it's
know.
not, that's something that then they will call, the police department.
Yeah, because I know that.
Yes, if we're called, we will move the object. We're not going to take someone's property, but we will move the object and to accommodate someone parking on a public street.
Thank you.
Now, if I may ask one final question.
Real quick, real quick.
Lee and Sudam Street, any traffic solutions to prevent the crashes that happen like almost 3 times a week or more? Lee and Sudam Street.
So, okay, we'll
Yep.
get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wishes to address the council?
Hi, yes, like I said, I will just start off by saying, wow, really, I'm not even happy coming down here to you council members ever since Mr. Loveland retired. He was the true leader, the main one who kept New Brunswick going. And like I said, as a black resident for 47 years in New Brunswick, born and raised, do I see the treatment, the things being treated the way? No, it's like I said, too much racism. And I'm going to start off with saying, wow, you're supposed to be ticketed by either animal control or the police department with these residents and businesses putting out food to feed cats or birds, leading to rodents. What, you can have the picture of the house of the person doing it. Does the police department or animal control do the tickets? No, they do not. I put it up on I have my own news page. And like I said, I'm gonna speak on due to where disappointment, we did not have a traffic authority meeting due to where I think Mr. Mitch and Officer Mark Smith were coming, but there was no traffic meeting. And I surely wanna bring up with Oxford Street where we tried to work it out, but come on, I think it's time for the city to bring that sign up to the curb to see, due to where even though you had he was drunk, a drunk driver, hit and run, coming down the wrong way, hit 2 parked cars. But I hope New Brunswick, where I gave them heads up that they do their part, due to where this same drunk driver, 25 minutes before, hit and run on Route 27 Franklin side. He was in New Brunswick, he left the vehicle on Oxford Street, jumped out the car and ran. Now, I gave him heads up, but like I said, I already know if the criminal isn't black, New Brunswick Police Department doesn't give it down. What if the victim is black, New Brunswick don't give the police department give it down. Like I said, wow, another drunk driver, January 9th, 2024, on Somerset Street and Alexandria. Wow, hit 2 cars, ran and crashed into the store. Wow, another hit and run, but like I said, with Judge Philip Throw, the type of judges that we have, what for hit and run, what is it a crime? What, only a $200 fine? Come on, please, like I said, and you wonder why I keep speaking on racism. Due to where I will say, I have been calling to the mayor's office and to the police department. I'm not being nosy with Mr. Dean's property at all. Like I told you, I was worried about him, and I told you I know when something goes wrong. That was Sunday, while his brand new car, well, I just happened to be walking by, being burglarized, all these homeless stealing out of his car. I'm yelling. I have Mr. Dean's phone number, his friend's number. I'm calling him, where is he? While not knowing he collapsed inside the household. While with all these homeless over there, when the police keep coming over there, doing nothing. Please, like I said, my concerns now for Mr. Dean, wow, he has heart problems. I don't want to see him have a heart attack over there. But what the hell does the police do? Nothing. Why? Because they're not black? Like I said, please. What is like I said, and I will say, how many, please, out of 2022, 2023, how many murderers have you let go due to where, wow, just because they're not a U.S. citizen? At least 7. And like I said, how many criminals do you let do criminal stuff because they're not a U.S. citizen? Am I the only one saying this? No, I'm not. I'm pretty sure you can see the comments on everybody else's due to where, oh, wow, what's the meaning of them hit and run jumping out the vehicle? Wow, because New Brunswick doesn't give out tickets for speeding. New Brunswick doesn't give out tickets for checking, drinking, and driving or anything. So like I said, wow, if the job was being done, and I've surely been waiting on you, Mr. Anderson, to say, wow, New Brunswick Police Department is doing a great job. Like I said, if they were doing their damn job, there would be less things happening in New Brunswick. Please tell me, why is New Brunswick not giving out tickets? Why? Because it's not a black area anymore? Well, I think we used to get ticketed for it's still the law. Do I see it? I can have it on video. I can have the evidence in front of me. What does New Brunswick? Oh yeah, it just talks about him and just let him walk down the road. For my sake, Mr. Dean, pray he doesn't have a heart attack over there with all them keep robbing him from his household over there on Oxford Street. I tell you, he keeps scaring me, and I keep trying to tell him, please, or somebody who can talk to him. I have his friend's number. He's trying to work with him. I've been going over there, but like I said, God forbid, I don't want to see him have a heart attack over there, with him keep scaring me. So please, like I said, the police need to do their jobs and get all of them homeless out of here due to where I know they have nothing where to go. But come on, I've been going out passing food, coats, and all, helping them as much as I can. But something's going to have to be done with this homeless, nowhere to go, nowhere to sleep. About people freezing to death.
Thank you.
Hi, April Request, 143 City Street. I have a few issues I'd like to re-raise that I brought up at previous meetings. One is around city's climate action planning. I asked about this a number of months ago and was told that perhaps there would be a meaningful update to share in the new year, and so I'm re-raising the issue if there's a meaningful update to share
I will make sure that we have an update, because we gave something before, so I'll make sure that I give an update at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
If there's anything to be updated.
Okay. And another concern I previously raised is just more information on what the city is doing to tackle the drug crisis. I'm sure that the city is doing some things. I'm sure that there's more to do, but if there can just be more information shared on that.
We'll do.
And then with regards to Code Blue, you know, with the recent storms that we've had, I've sort of become more aware that one of the oversights in the rules around Code Blue being open for cold weather is that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's open for bad and dangerous weather. I know that there's previously been action taken to address problems with air quality and providing shelter space when there's dangerous air quality, but I think we've had 4 storms just very recently, and Code Blue was only open for one of those, and on at least one occasion, there was a declared weather emergency because of wintry, dangerous weather, but because by the time in the evening the temperature had raised above 32 degrees, even though it was still actively sleeping outside, Code Blue was not available. And so, on the one hand, you have government officials saying it's dangerous, please don't go outside, but there's also not actually anywhere for folks without a shelter to go. So I just wanted to raise that concern and ask if there's any active discussion on opening the shelter for weather emergencies that don't have to do with temperature and with air quality as are currently covered.
I will find out for you. I'm not aware of any, but again, that doesn't mean that the conversation hasn't happened.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Charlie Pradville with Brunswick, New Brunswick today. I also wanted to ask about Code Blue. I have here the document that Mr. Jones handed out to us when he made his presentation. It says the Division of Human Services is currently working with harm reduction of NJ on resources and services for this community, as well as a Code Blue partnership. What happened to that partnership?
I will give you an update on that because I don't have that information.
Okay.
But I will give you an update on how everything is going.
Is it true the partnership got called off?
I cannot tell you whether it's true or not because I have no knowledge. So I'm not going to comment on something that I don't have any information.
Fair enough, Mr.
To be responsible.
I appreciate that. So just full disclosure, Keith told me he told the council about this. So I didn't, I was expecting you to have an
Somebody
answer.
else
But
would have, the members, but me personally, I don't have that conversation.
okay, well, I think it might be time for another presentation about Code Blue and an update since the information we got last time wasn't totally correct. I'll point out it was like 15 degrees this morning at 7 a.m. when folks got kicked out of Code Blue. It hasn't gotten above freezing point today, and thank God it is open again as of 7 p.m. tonight. But we have to do better, obviously, if it's, that kind of temperature, just because it's daytime, doesn't mean you can just expect folks to make it on their own outside. We should be extending those hours until it warms up at a minimum. That's just common sense. I'm also concerned about police transparency. As you know, we've had a lot of battles over that, including all the way to the appellate division of New Jersey's court system, and started to get a lot more information out of the police after a pretty big ruling there. But for some unexplained reason, now when I request information, a huge chunk of the paper is blank. And I used to get information. There's a section called incident details. And that field is gone. I've asked why, no explanation. I think there's some pretty troubling things here, and now we don't get the kind of answers we deserve. So like on December 6, 12:40 p.m., there was a robbery in front of McKinley School. Was this case solved? 12:09, 2:33 a.m., armed robbery with a cutting instrument in front of 247 Somerset Street. Was that solved? I don't believe either of those were solved. I also don't know whether that was a stabbing or a slashing, whether anybody was seriously injured, hospitalized, or, don't know any more details than just those basics now. And so I think there's a real problem here. I can't tell you all the crimes and do it in the 5 minutes, but I see one here, kidnapping with a firearm, fired to Joyce Kilmer.
12/23, 9:57 p.m. I think the public needs more information about this. Is that one unsolved? How was a firearm used in a kidnapping right here in downtown New Brunswick and police didn't alert the community? If it's not solved, they need our help solving it, and we should be informed of it. And it's disappointing to see less information about serious violent crimes under this new administration in the police department. And so I would ask you to use your power to ask the chief of police to turn this around, open the blinds, be more transparent, and show up at these meetings and answer questions from the public. Can you do that? Can I count on you to do that as my representative?
I'm going to tell the chief to be here because I told him the last time that we have Lieutenant Hoover here, who's representing the New Brunswick Police Department. I am not going to comment on any of these incidents because I don't have the details, so I don't know if there's a reason why the information that you were provided is sufficient or it's not. I don't know. It might be under investigation. It might be some information that I cannot provide to the public yet.
I hope there
I'm
are.
pretty sure that there's a reasoning behind, or are we, is the police department abiding by the law, giving you the information that you need to get, right? Or is it that you want more of what is allowable by law? So
Can you blame me?
those are
When I hear
things.
about these types of crimes happening in my
Again.
community, of course I want more information.
Again, we need to figure out whether it's that we're not doing our job, or it's just you that would like to have more information aside from what you gave. That is not.
Why?
But I hear you,
Okay.
and I'm gonna address that, okay?
So maybe we can follow up after the meeting or, at a different time about that, because I think that's a really important issue, and I don't want to see it continue in the wrong direction. I also have to speak about something Danielle brought up. The Traffic Commission canceled their meeting because not enough members showed up. That was the day after the Taxi Commission canceled their meeting because not enough members showed up. Last night, I braved the cold to get to the Henry Guest House for the first meeting of the Historical Association. They canceled their meeting. I brought this up to the public information officer that, email blast the city sent out had wrong info, and, several of the boards direct people to the city website. The city website doesn't always have the right info. I've requested a meeting with the public information officer and the city clerk's office to try to help, and I hope that I can get that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda. Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskin. Councilmember Socorro Ludwig. Council President Escobar.